Dad, I'm hungry. Son, there is no food. We are in the middle of the mountains, so you're gonna need to wait. But I don't wanna wait. I want food. I'm hungry. There is no food, and there are no restaurants, so you're gonna have to wait. Why can't you be more like our ancestors? They went out and hunted for their own food. And there's a forest right here. I bet if you went out and hunted, you could find some deer or something for us to eat. I can't go out and hunt food. I'm busy driving the car. But Dad, you gotta be more like our ancestors and go hunt for food. I need to drive the car, son. I can't go out and hunt. But Dad, son, for the last time, I'm not gonna go out and hunt for some deer so you can have a snack. Dad, come on, it'll only take a little bit. If you want food fresh from the forest so much, then why don't you go out and hunt it yourself? Most people have been on some sort of long car ride before, and I've been on some really long ones myself. Whether you're in there for 20 minutes or 20 hours, being in the car always sucks. The only thing you can really do is stare out the window. Yes, you could read a book or something, but if you're in the car and you're reading a book for more than 20 minutes, you're at very high risk of getting a really bad headache. I don't know if that's normal or not. I'm pretty sure it is. So either I'm suffering from a very common condition, or I have several tumors the size of golf balls in my brain. The longest car ride I've been on lasted something like 20 hours, but it took place over several days, and we stopped at hotels every night, so it was only like 5 hours a day of driving. And that doesn't sound like a lot of driving. It's not. But it wasn't just me, my brother, my mom, and dad in the car. My grandparents and their dog were also crammed into this car, so it was 5 hours a day of 6 people in a car, plus a dog. At least I think their dog was with us. This happened like 4 years ago, so I could be wrong. But I remember it as 7 organisms packed together in a single car. And the first hour or so of each segment wasn't that bad, because there were a lot of people to talk to, plus a dog to play with. But it's about after an hour of driving before everything starts to go wrong. And it's around this time when the dog decides it needs to go for a piss. So you can't really play with the dog anymore because it's acting all anxious. It's also around this time when you start running out of things to talk about with your family. The conversations start to turn to, "Oh, how's school?" And, "I wonder how long you could survive if you pressed your ear against a running plane engine." And so you just sort of have to stare out the window. But this car ride, we were going through a lot of desert. So it didn't really change for the entirety of the car ride. And so I was just staring out the window, counting the grains of sand for hours on end while I waited for us to get to the next hotel. And I couldn't start reading a book or anything like that, because again, my brain would start having a seizure. I probably remember that trip being worse than it actually is, because I'm sure I had a great time when we actually got to where we were going. When we actually got to where we were going, we were in an area that had a lot of pine trees, and so there were a lot of pine needles on the ground. And I remember I would always pick up one of the pine needles as soon as I saw one, and stick it through the top layer of skin in my finger. I don't really remember anything particular about the ride back, but it was probably really similar to the first time, since we took the same route and everything. While that car ride was really long, my family never did it again, just because we didn't feel like we needed to. But there is a place that we go to very often, not too often, but like once every month or so, that's like 6 hours away. So not nearly as long as the other one, but we've gone on it too many times to count. This car ride is also a lot more scenic than the desert. We drive through fields, a lake, a forest, and even by the ocean. And so it's a lot more fun to look out the window on this car ride. But this car ride isn't perfect either, because it's super, super windy. So whether I'm reading a book or not, there's a pretty good chance that I'm gonna get a really bad headache. But there's a lot of stops along the way, so even if I do end up getting sick, I can stop and get some fresh air. Also, if I opened the car window even a little bit, some fresh air would be able to get in the car. And that always helped to make the headache a little better, but it never really went away entirely until we got to our destination. Most of the time, car rides really suck, but occasionally they don't. I don't think anyone really hates car rides, just sort of is indifferent about them at best. And that's how I feel about them. Because no matter how you live your life, you're always gonna have to ride in a car sooner or later. Unless you just so happen to have yourself a personal helicopter.